Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating, almost unbelievable story from the 1970s UK music scene. It's about a duo called Koffee and Kreme. Yeah, their rise was incredibly fast, but the fall, even faster. We're talking about how a primetime TV win could lead to a career basically ending in, well, less than 24 hours. It's quite a snapshot of the industry back then.
It really is. And what gives us such a great angle is our main source. It's a town from Kenny Denton, who was the engineer turned talent scout who actually found them. So we get this amazing behind-the-scenes look, contracts, TV drama, mogul power plays.
Yeah.
The works.
Okay, let's set the scene. Mid-70s, Delane Leah's studio in Wembley. Not exactly glamour central, but that's where Louis Ellman, the MD, and Ben Nesbitt decided to launch Delbin Music. Right?
That's right. A publishing and production arm. And they needed acts, fresh talent. So Nesbitt hires Kenny Denton as their scout.
And their first move to find talent was pretty bold, wasn't it? This massive ad in Melody Maker.
Oh, yeah, huge. Melody Maker was the paper then. The ad basically shouted, "Do you think you have got what it takes to be a star?" A big, bold question.
Must have been like opening the floodgates. I mean, relying on unsolicited stuff. What was the response like?
Chaos, basically. Denton said his phone lines just jammed instantly. He was completely buried under this avalanche of mail. It really tells you something about how desperate artists were for a shot back then.
But somewhere in that pile, they found Koffee and Kreme. Lance Ellington and Beth Hanna. Good look, great voices, the whole package.
Exactly. They looked the part. And, crucially, they could really sing. Both of them had fantastic voices.
And Lance Ellington? There was a bit of a legacy there already, wasn't there? His father.
Ray Ellington, yeah, a massive star in his own right. Singer, drummer, band leader, famous for being on the Goon Show on the BBC for years. So, music was in his blood.
So who brought them to Delbin? It was their manager, Christy Lee, who sent in the package.
It was. And apparently Ben Nesbitt saw potential not just in the duo, but in her. Described her as a positive, pushy manager. They signed him up pretty fast.
What made her stand out? She wasn't just any manager, was she?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Very professional package she sent in. But beyond that, she had real history in the business. Get this. Back in 1963, her own band, the Beat Chicks,
Yeah.
they actually supported the Beatles on their first tour of Spain.
Wow. Okay, so she'd seen the inside of the machine then. She wasn't naive.
Definitely not. She knew the score. An industry veteran, even if she wasn't a household name herself anymore.
So Delbin signs them. They've got the talent, the manager. What's the first step?
Recording.
Yep. They cut Emil Sedaka song, My World, keeps getting smaller every day. And they didn't mess about with the production. They brought in Louis Clark.
From ELO, Electric Light Orchestra fame.
The very same. Renowned string arranger. He wrote the parts. So Delbin was clearly aiming high, investing properly. This was meant to be a serious launch.
A proper pop single aiming for the charts.
Exactly. Quality production, quality talent. Okay, but a single needs distribution, right? Needs to get into shops, get played, and this is where things get complicated. The deal Ben Nesbitt made was with Jet Records.
And Jet Records meant dealing with its owner, Don Arden.
Don Arden. Now, he wasn't just any record exec, was he? He had a reputation.
Oh, absolutely. Reputation is putting it mildly. He was a genuine heavyweight. Managed huge acts, Jerry Lee Lewis, Black Sabbath, Small Faces, ELO, as you mentioned, with Louis Clark. He was synonymous with success, but also with, well, ruthlessness.
Ruthlessness is one word for it. Remind us how notorious he actually was. We're not talking about sharp business practices here, are we?
No, far beyond that. The sources we looked at compare him to an English Don Corleone, seriously. His methods could be physical, intimidating. There's that infamous story from '66.
With Robert Stigwood?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stigwood apparently tried to interfere with Arden's management of the Small Faces. So Arden turns up at Stigwood's office with some minders.
Oh, boy.
And allegedly threatens to throw Stigwood out of the window. That's how he handled a business dispute.
Yeah. That's terrifying. And it paints a picture of how he treated artists, too, doesn't it? I mean, Ian McLagan from the Small Faces 14-hit singles claimed they were supposedly only paid something like £20 a week.
Yeah, allegedly just £20 a week. McLagan said, never got a penny from records, never got a penny from gigs. It suggests Arden's model was total control, especially over the money. Artists were assets, maybe not partners.
And this is the guy whose label is releasing Koffee and Kreme's big debut single.
This is the guy. High stakes.
Yet, despite all that looming in the background, Christy Lee keeps pushing. She gets them on New Face's huge Saturday night TV show back then.
Massive exposure. And they didn't just appear. They won their heat. which put them straight into the gala final in April 1977. Suddenly, they're on the brink of national fame.
And that final itself, more drama, right?
Great.
Involving one of the judges.
Oh, yeah. The judging was incredibly tight. It all came down to the score from Tony Hatch, nicknamed the Hatchet in the business, apparently.
The hatchet, okay. And this is where the offstage stuff bleeds onto the screen. Because Denton, the scout, knew something.
He did. He knew Hatch had actually taken Lance and Beth out to lunch earlier that week, trying to poach them, trying to lure them away to his own production company behind Delbin's back.
So Denton's sitting there watching Hatch, knowing this. The tension must have been unbelievable.
You can imagine. Denton recounts thinking that if Hatch dared to give them a low score, basically out of sour grapes, for being rejected, he was ready to go straight to the press and expose the whole thing.
Wow. So Hatch is kind of cornered? Maybe he sensed that? Or maybe he genuinely thought they were great.
Whichever it was, he gave them a high score. And he even said something like, they will go on to make it big.
And that score pushed them over the edge.
It did. They won the gala final by 28 points. Overnight, literally, they were famous. Front page of all the big newspapers the next day. Koffee and Kreme had arrived.
The absolute dream scenario. Talent, TV win, press attention, single ready to go. They must have felt unstoppable. So the very next day, Sunday, Don Arden throws this huge party to celebrate the win and launch the single. Where was it?
Top of the Hilton Hotel, Park Lane in London. Very fancy. Several suites knocked together, apparently.
Yeah.
Absolutely packed. Press, celebs, industry people shoulder to shoulder. Pure champagne and celebration.
And Arden himself made an entrance.
Oh, yes. Denton describes his wife asking what Arden looked like. Denton told her to imagine an English Don Corleone. And then, moments later, Arden walks in, hands in his pockets, just strolling through the crowd.
Looking the part, I guess.
Completely, looking every bit as intimidating as his reputation hinted at. Apparently just commanded the room without saying a word.
Okay, so peak celebration, everyone's buzzing, but then something shifts.
Right in the middle of it all, Lance, Beth, and Christy Lee get called over. They disappear with Arden into a side room. Just the four of them. Private meeting. Seems like it. They were gone for maybe half an hour. When they came back out into the main party, the mood was totally different. Denton specifically notes seeing a definite change in their faces. The smiles looked forced. The optimism was gone.
You just know something bad happened in that room. The body language says it all.
Exactly. And we found out the next day what it was. Arden had told Christy Lee, point blank, that now the act was a big national success. He would be taking over their management, effective immediately.
Just like that. Was that even in their distribution contract?
Probably not explicitly laid out like that.
Yeah.
But this was classic Don Arden, classic 70s music mogul, really. Little company, Delbin, finds talent. Big company, Jet, distributes it, act blows up. Big company wants it all. Control, the touring, the publishing, everything.
He probably just assumed Christy Lee would roll over. I mean, he's Don Arden.
That seems to be the assumption.
Yeah.
But Christy Lee, Denton describes her as diminutive, physically small, but tough as nails. She had a contract. She had the loyalty of Lance and Beth. And she said no, flat out refused to step down.
Wow. Standing up to Don Arden like that takes guts.
Absolutely. And Arden, who wasn't used to being told no, ever, he was reportedly furious.
So what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force?
The unstoppable force, who also controls the record-pressing plant, brings down the hammer. Arden delivered the ultimatum. Since Christy wouldn't give up management, there would be no single release.
No release. After winning new faces, after that huge party.
No release. He literally said no management contract, no release, and he threatened to bury the act.
And he meant it.
He absolutely meant it. Think about the timeline. Saturday night, they win. Sunday afternoon, the massive launch party. Monday morning, it's over. Koffee and Kreme's career, that national buzz, gone.
Yeah.
Wiped out within 24 hours. Faster than a politician's promise, as Denton puts it.
John, killed not by lack of talent or audience, but by a contract dispute. A power struggle.
Precisely. One man's ego and demand for total control versus a manager's refusal to give in.
So what happened to everyone after this implosion? Beth Hannah, the female half of the duo.
Very sadly, Beth passed away, quite young. A real tragedy.
That's awful. And Lance Ellington. Arden tried to bury him, but did he resurface?
He absolutely did, which tells you everything about the level of talent we're talking about. Lance went on to have an incredibly successful, long career. He worked with some of the biggest names imaginable. Michael Jackson, George Michael, Sting, Robbie Williams.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And for years, he became a very familiar face as one of the regular singers on the BBC's Strictly Come Dancing. So, Arden couldn't bury the talent forever, clearly.
Incredible resilience. He found his own path years later. And what about Delbin Music, the company that started it all?
Well, according to the source, Delbin kept going. They continued scouting and producing, but maybe with a different perspective. The focus shifted a bit towards just enjoying the process, finding talent, having fun, accepting they might not swamp the charts with hits after that kind of bruising experience.
They learned a harsh lesson about the industry, didn't they?
A brutal one.
So, the takeaway for you listening, it's pretty stark, isn't it? This story is just a perfect, if extreme, example of how industry power, contracts, egos, how those things can completely overwrite talent and even massive public success. Coffee Stream had everything going for them except the one thing that mattered that weekend, the sign-off from the man at the top who demanded total control.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When you think about Lance Ellington's later success, clearly a massive talent that eventually shone through it poses a bigger question. How many other artists, maybe just as talented, have been permanently buried because of some unseen contract dispute or an executive's whim? Is the music industry really about finding the best talent? Or is it more about who happens to control the gates? Who gets to decide whether the release valve gets opened or not?
That's a really chilling thought to end on. Power versus creativity, with creativity often losing out in the short term. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into a truly dramatic piece of music history. Keep exploring those hidden stories.